Good morning, everyone. So, for today's discussion, we, the Group 5, will be talking about the last topic, which is the complete set of financial statements of merchandising type of business. So, before that, let's have first our agenda. Okay, so, merchandising company uses the same four financial statements we learned before. It includes the income statements, statement of retained earnings, balance sheet, and the statement of cash flows. So the balance sheet uses the classified balance sheet. The income statements, on the other hand, for the merchandiser is expanded to include groupings and subheadings necessary to make it easier for investors to read and understand. Lastly, we will look at the income statements only as the other statements that have been discussed previously. Let's have first the first reporter, Ms. Serat.
So now let's move on to financial statement for merchandising business. So the merchandise business is engaged in reselling of the goods and services purchased by the merchandisers to the customers or the retailer in order to earn profit. So kani merchandise business is ang goal jud is to earn profit, syempre no. So mo ni siya ang merchandising business is engaged ni siya in reselling goods or services, dili lang kanang mga products or mga goods kundi mga serbisyo sad. So mo na siya ang merchandiser sa retailer, we know nga lahi ni siya no, kay ang merchandiser kay mo lagi na sila ang mo palit wholesale sa distributor or sa manufacturer to distribute to the customer. So for example ana is kaning ang mga retailers or matawag sa nato na silang resellers is mo ni siya ang kanang kuan sa example ana is kanang sari-sari store, like ang kanang mga nag-business og sari-sari store, like for example ako sari-sari store, so ako reseller ako, mupalit ko dito sa kanang merchandise business, like for example katong grocery store, so dito ba ako mangumpra mo na siyang term no, na kanang dito ko mangumpra kay sa akong mga ibaligya sadto customers mo na siya. So financial statement, so a financial statement is a report that shows the financial activities and performance of a business. It is used by lenders and investors to check a business financial health and earning potential. So, financial statements, I know nga, familiar na kay Taani. So, ang financial statement is kanang, kanang report ni siya na nagpakita bitaw sa kanang performance bitaw sa business. Diha nakabutang tanang mga financial activities, dinha nakabutang tanang financial or mga transaction sa usa ka business. Then ang kanang financial statement na dinha na nato makit-an kung unsa ka kanang kalambo ang kanang ang business, or dinha nato makit-an kung kining atong business ba is kanang naka-earn ba ni, like ni-earn ba jud ta og kanang og profits ing ana. So dinha nato na makit-an ang financial health sa usa ka company.
Okay, so next is the income statement. So, what is income statement? Income statement is a financial statement that shows you the company's income and expenditures. It is also known as a profit and loss statement, statement of operations, statement of financial result or income, or the earnings statement. So, there are two major parts of income statements. First is the net sales. Second is the cost of sales. So net sales refers to the sum of the gross sales of a business minus the returns, allowances, and discounts. Cost of sales, on the other hand, represents all the costs that go into providing a service or product to a customer. So, please see the reference in the slide for your guide. Okay, now so let's go to how could we get the income statement of a business. See the example reference on the slide, please, for your guide. So we have here the Chimney Company. Okay, so we have an example company here, which is the Chimney Company. Chimney Company income statement for the month ended August 31, 2018. So first thing we need to do is to list the service revenues. So we have here 135,000 for the service revenue. Next thing that we need to do is to list all the expenses. So starting with the utilities expense, which costs 1,600, charitable contribution expense 10,000, rent expense 15,000, and lastly the salaries expense, which costs 12,000. So to sum it up, it equals to 38,600. Last thing that we need to do is to get the profit. So how could we get the profit? Very easy. All we need to do is to minus the total expense from the service revenues. So total expense costs 38,600 minus the service revenues 135,000. So it equals to 96,400. So this will be our profit.
Nature of expense method. The nature of expense classification refers to the expenses that are recorded or disclosed on the basis of the nature of the categories they are spent on. Such expenses include raw materials, depreciation, transports, and staffing costs. So, ang income statement na ay three main factors, which is ang revenue, expense, and net income. So, ang revenue, mao ni ang generated income through business primary operations. It is often referred to as top line and is shown at the top of an income statement. So, ang revenue, mao ni ang income nga na-generate through business primary operations. And sa expense, mao ni ang mga nagasto, and net income is an accounting term that refers to the total revenue minus the total expense for any given period. So, makuha na to ang net income basta minus na to ang total revenue minus the total expense. So, based sa atong example diha, ang atong revenue kay ang service revenue. Ang atong expense kay ang cost of services, selling expenses, o administrative expenses. So, ang cost of services, selling expenses, o administrative expenses, mao na siya gitawag nga OPEX, which is operating expenses. So, ipang-add sa nato ang tanang expenses. So, sa cost services, magasto mo jud kag staff salaries, which is 145,000, and supplies expense, which is 10,000. So, i-add nimo kay 155,000. O ang selling expenses, pwede siya matawag og marketing expenses since magagasto mo jud ka basta magbaligya kag product para mo market. Advertising cost 20,000 o entertainment expenses 3,000, which is equivalent to 23,000. Og administrative expenses, pwede po na siya matawag og general expenses. So, na diha ang utilities expense, which is 5,000, and depreciation on building, 12,000, equivalent to 17,000. So, kung i-add ni mga 155,000, 23,000, o 17,000, mukam up siya og 195,000. So, para makuha nga itong net income, i-minus na to ang total revenue ug ang total expense. Ang atong total revenue kay 400,000 minus total expense of 195,000, ang atong net income kay 205,000. So basically, ang expense by nature means that all expenses with similar source are grouped together. So i-group gyud mo siya og revenue ba na siya or expense ba na siya. So duha ni siya ka forms which is ang kani nature of expense method ug ang usa kay functions of expense method that will be further discussed by Ms. Dyrene Lascania.
Elements with the function of expense report. So this book allocates and combines expenses items according to the activity from which the item arises. So it associates the revenues with the costs incurred for the products or services sold. So this allows you to identify the activities for which the costs were incurred, such as the R&D, the sales, or it could be the administration. So ang examples ng mga expenses is the administrative expenses, the financing expenses, manufacturing expenses, marketing expenses, and also the selling expenses. So as you can see in the table, naa ang nature of expense method and the function of expense method. Actually, they're both the same, but the difference lang is that ang nature of expense method, makita nimo kung unsa siya na type sa expenses. Wherein, sa function of expense method, mas specific siya. So, the service revenues, so same ra, 400,000 pesos. Next is the cost of services, which costs 155,000 pesos. So, asa na mo nakuha ang cost of services? So, makuha na ang cost of services sa staff salaries, which cost 145,000, and also the supplies expenses, which cost 10,000 pesos. So, to add on, na siya ay 155,000 pesos. So, next is the selling expenses. So, unsa man ang imong way para mag-sell sa imong product? So, ang sa selling expenses is na-add ang advertising costs and the entertainment expenses. The advertising cost 20,000 and the entertainment expense which costs 3,000. So, to add on, mag-gain na siya og 23,000 pesos. So next is the administrative expenses, which is the 17,000 pesos. So sa administrative expenses, naadri ang utilities expense, which costs 5,000 pesos, and the depreciation and building, which costs 12,000 pesos. So to add, makagain na siya og 17,000 pesos. So if imo na siya i-add to add it all, you will get 205,000 pesos. Same na siya sa nature of expense method. So if once na sa nature of expense method, mausab ang naa na expenses sa function of expense method. So in this example, we're going to get the expenses. So first, we're going to get the sales revenue, which costs 749,650 pesos. Next is the cost of sales, which costs 222,450 pesos. So we are going to deduct the sales revenue sa cost of sales. So we are going to get a 527,200 pesos. So next is we're going to proceed with the expenses. So operating expenses, as you can see na ang selling expenses and the administrative expenses. So ang selling expenses, it has 82,130 pesos, and the administrative expenses na siya 100,381 pesos. So ato na siya i-add, makagain ta og 182,510 pesos. So kung nakuha naman nato ang gross profit in the total operating expenses, now we're going to deduct it. So the operating profit will be 344,690 pesos. So ari ra ta kutob sa operating profit. Kaya nag-focus man ta sa mga expenses lang.
Statement of changes in equity. The statement of owner's equity is a financial statement that presents the changes in the owner's equity account over a specific time. The statement of changes in equity, it summarizes the changes that occurred in owner's equity. So what it means is if gusto nimo may bawaan, what was the reason ngano nausab ang kapital? Ngano niubos o ngano nitaas ang kapital sa usa ka owner? Ari nimo may bawaan sa statement of changes in equity. So let's start in making statement of changes in equity. So first, put the company name, Chimmy Company. The next one is kung unsa nga financial statement atong ibutan. So this time atong ibutan man kay statement of changes in equity. The next one is year ended. Muna tayong ibutang for the month ended August 31, 2018. So this time ato ibutang ang owner's capital beginning. So Chimmy capital comma and August, kung ako sa nag-start, August 1, 2018. So, butan na to asang kapital to ang kapital. So 1,500,000. So don't forget the peso sign. The next is add. Add niya additional investment. Add an additional investment. Nya sa kuan ato pangitaon ng additional investment diri sa kuan trial balance. So wala man siya, so ibutang na to is 0. Kaya wala man. The next one is profit. So ato tong ipangitaon ang kuan income statement ni Jasmine. So mo ni ang nahimo 96,400. So ato ibutang dira nya copy nya ibutang diri sa kilid. So, total na to. Ang total kay sige, so we got 1,596,400. So, mo na siya ang total. So, next is less. Less withdrawal, diba? It means kay kana minus. So, pagkitaon na to ang kuan. This time, pagkitaon na to ang withdrawals kung pila. So, makita na to sa diri sa Chimis withdrawals is 5,000. So, total siya. Ang total niya this time is 1,591,400. So, mauna na siya ang owner's capital ending. So, mauna na iyahang bagong kuan kapital. Diba sa yun radyo kayo, inana na siya pag-make og statement of changes in equity. So, may ibutan diri kay Chimi Capital August 31. So, mora na. So, thank you.
So good day. I'm here to discuss about the balance sheet. So balance sheet is a statement of a business assets, liabilities, and owner's equity of any given time. Typically, a balance sheet is prepared at the end of the period. Some may be every quarter or annually. So balance sheet explains the financial position of the company at specific point of time, as opposed to an income statement which reports financial information over a period of time. A balance sheet is used to determine the health of a company on a specific day. And also, balance sheet is calculated by the company's assets and its liability and equity. So the formula is the total assets is equal to the total liabilities plus total equity. So total assets are calculated as the sum of the short-term and long-term and other assets. And total liabilities are calculated as the sum of all short-terms and long-terms and other liabilities. And the total equity is calculated as the sum of net income, retained earnings, the owner's distribution, and the shared stock issues. So all you just need to do is to i-pile up na i-sum up na nimo siya tanan and dapat equal na ang asset o ang total sa liabilities ug equity is equal. If dili na siya equal, so naay possibility nga nasayop ka o kag-input og mga data sa imahang balance sheet. That's all. Thank you.